My name is Megan. I'm 15 years old, and this past weekend was supposed to be a rare treat. My parents were out of town, leaving me with the house to myself. I was looking forward to a movie marathon, endless snacks, and the freedom to stay up as late as I wanted. But what started as a night of teenage bliss quickly turned into a nightmare. I was sprawled out on the couch, popcorn bowl balanced on my stomach, when I heard it. A loud, insistent knock at the door. It was almost midnight. Who would be knocking at this hour? "Who's there?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. No answer, just another knock, louder this time. My heart started to race. I slid off the couch and crept towards the door, peeking through the peephole. A man stood on the porch. He looked disheveled, his clothes dirty and torn. His eyes darted nervously, and he kept glancing over his shoulder. I didn't recognize him. He wasn't from our neighborhood. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "My car broke down," he said. "Can I use your phone to call for help?" Something felt off. Why hadn't he gone to one of the other houses? Why mine? I took a step back from the door, my mind racing. Should I let him in? What if he really needed help? But what if he was lying? "I'm sorry, but I can't help you," I said firmly, trying to keep the fear out of my voice. "There's a gas station a few blocks away. They might have a phone." "Please, just let me in for a minute," he insisted, his voice growing more desperate. "I just need to make a quick call." My instincts screamed at me to stay away. I backed away from the door, my hands shaking. What should I do? I grabbed my cell phone and dialed 911, whispering to the operator about the man at my door. "Stay on the line with me," the operator instructed. "Police are on their way." I felt a little relief knowing help was coming, but the man was still there, pounding on the door now. Why was he so desperate? What did he really want? "Please, go away," I shouted, hoping he'd leave. But he didn't. The banging grew more frantic, and I could hear him trying the doorknob. Was he trying to break in? Minutes felt like hours as I waited for the police. I stayed on the phone with the operator, giving her updates. Finally, I saw flashing lights through the front window. The police had arrived. "Open the door, Megan," the operator said. "The officers are here." I unlocked the door, and 2 officers rushed in, guns drawn. They quickly subdued the man and took him outside. I could hear him protesting, claiming he just needed help. But the look in his eyes told a different story. One of the officers stayed with me while the others took the man away. "You did the right thing, Megan," he said. "That man is a wanted criminal. You were in serious danger." The weight of his words sank in, and I started to tremble. What if I had opened the door? What if I had let him in? That night changed me. I used to think I was invincible, that nothing bad could ever happen to me. But now, I know better. I'm more cautious, more aware of the dangers that lurk just outside our doors. I don't take my safety for granted anymore. And I always double-check the locks before I go to bed. I learned the hard way that you can never be too careful. I'm San, a high school sophomore, and this was supposed to be just another quiet night at home. My parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me alone for the first time. They trusted me, and I thought it would be fun. A chance to binge on video games and snacks without interruptions. But what started as an exciting evening turned into a night of terror I'll never forget. It all began around 7 p.m. I was deeply engrossed in my favorite game, the sounds of virtual explosions and gunfire filling the living room. Then suddenly, the lights began to flicker. I frowned, glancing up from my screen. Was it just an electrical glitch? I shrugged it off, figuring it was nothing serious. But then the power went out completely. The screen went black, and the room was plunged into darkness. My heart skipped a beat. What the hell? I muttered to myself, grabbing my phone to use as a flashlight. I tried the light switches, but nothing happened. I needed to check the fuse box in the basement. With a deep breath, I picked up the flashlight my parents had left for emergencies and made my way down the creaky stairs. The basement was cold and musty, the air thick with the smell of old cardboard and damp concrete. I reached the fuse box and opened it, shining the light on the switches. Everything seemed normal. I flipped the main switch off and then on again. Nothing. As I stood there, contemplating my next move, I heard a noise from the back of the house. A soft, almost imperceptible creak. My blood ran cold. Was someone in the house? I strained my ears, holding my breath. There it was again, louder this time. It sounded like footsteps. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned off the flashlight, plunging myself into darkness. I didn't want whoever, or whatever, was out there to know where I was. Crouching behind an old couch, I dialed 911, my hands shaking. 911. What's your emergency? The operator's voice was calm, a stark contrast to my panicked state. Someone's in my house, I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm home alone, and I think someone's trying to break in. Stay calm, she instructed. Help is on the way. Can you find a safe place to hide? I looked around, my eyes adjusting to the dim light. I'm in the basement. I think I'm safe here. Good. Stay on the line with me, okay? Can you describe the noises you're hearing? They're footsteps, and they keep getting closer. My voice trembled. Suddenly, I heard the sound of glass shattering upstairs. My heart leaped into my throat. They broke a window, I whispered urgently. Stay hidden. The police are only a few minutes away. Minutes felt like hours as I crouched in the darkness, every noise amplifying my fear. I heard the footsteps move from room to room. And then, they stopped. Had they realized I was in the basement? Finally, I heard the sound of sirens in the distance, growing louder. The footsteps retreated quickly, followed by the sound of the front door slamming shut. The police are here, the operator said. You can come out now. I stayed hidden until I heard the unmistakable sound of police officers calling out. When I emerged from the basement, flashlight still in hand, I was greeted by two officers who assured me the intruder was gone. They found signs of forced entry at the back door and broken glass in the living room. You're lucky you hid and called us, one officer said, patting my shoulder. It could have been much worse. That night taught me a lesson I would never forget. Being home alone might seem like fun, but it's important to stay vigilant and prepared for anything. As the officers left and my parents rushed home, relief washed over me, but the fear still lingered. I'll never forget that night, the terror of being alone in the dark, and the realization that safety is not something to be taken for granted. I'm Jenna, a college student always looking for ways to make some extra money. House sitting for my neighbors, the Thompsons, seemed like an easy gig. Their house was big, a bit old, and nestled in a quiet suburb. They were off to Europe for 2 weeks, leaving me alone in their place. It was the third night, and I thought it would be uneventful, but I was wrong. It started around 9 p.m. I was curled up on the couch, binge watching a new series. Suddenly, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello, I said, a bit apprehensively. Silence. Then a voice, heavily distorted, crackled through the line. Are you alone? My heart skipped a beat. Who is this? I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. The line went dead. I felt a chill run down my spine. Was this a prank? I shook my head, trying to brush off the unease. Still, I decided to check all the locks, just to be sure. The Thompsons had a lot of windows and doors, and as I went from room to room, the old house felt increasingly creepy. In the living room, I noticed one of the windows was slightly ajar. Had I missed that before? I quickly locked it, my pulse quickening. Who would call and ask such a creepy question? I sat back down, trying to focus on my show, but my mind kept wandering back to the call. 15 minutes later, my phone rang again. Same unknown number. My hand shook as I answered. "What do you want?" I blurted out. The distorted voice returned, more menacing this time. "I can see you." Fear gripped me. I slammed the phone down, my breath coming in short gasps. Was someone watching me? I turned off the lights, hoping the darkness would hide me. Should I call the police, or was it just a prank? I peeked through the curtains, but the yard was empty, bathed in the dim glow of streetlights. Another call. I didn't answer. My voicemail notification chimed. With trembling hands, I played the message. "I know where you are, Jenna." My blood ran cold. How did they know my name? I grabbed a kitchen knife, my heart pounding. Every noise seemed amplified, every shadow a potential threat. The phone rang again. Desperate for answers, I picked up. "Why are you doing this? Who are you?" I pleaded. The voice laughed, a sickening, distorted sound. "Because I can." I hung up and dialed 911, my fingers shaking. The operator's calm voice was a lifeline. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's watching me. They keep calling, and they know my name. Please, send help, I begged, tears streaming down my face. Stay calm. We're tracing the calls and sending officers to your location. Stay on the line with me. Minutes felt like hours. The phone rang again, but I ignored it, clutching the knife tightly. The operator's voice was a constant reassurance. Finally, I saw flashing lights outside. Relief washed over me as officers knocked on the door. They found the source of the calls, a disturbed individual hiding in a neighbor's shed, watching the house with binoculars. The officers assured me he would be taken into custody, but the fear lingered. As they escorted me back inside, one officer said, "You did the right thing calling us. It could have been much worse." That night left me shaken, wary of house-sitting alone ever again. The distorted voice still echoes in my nightmares, a haunting reminder of how quickly safety can be shattered. My name is Jake, and at 16, I felt ready to handle a weekend alone while my parents were away on a business trip. The idea of having the house to myself was thrilling. No rules, no curfews. I ordered a pizza, grabbed some snacks, and settled in to watch my favorite TV show. It was going to be a perfect night. Around 9 p.m., as I was halfway through my second slice of pizza, I heard a strange noise coming from the basement. It sounded like a faint thud, but I dismissed it. Old houses creak and groan all the time, right? I turned up the volume on the TV, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut. But the noise persisted. Thud, thud, thud. Each time, a bit louder and more distinct. My mind raced with questions. Was it just the house settling? Could it be a raccoon or some other animal? Or was it something more sinister? I tried to focus on my show, but my eyes kept darting to the basement door. Finally, curiosity got the best of me. I grabbed a flashlight and cautiously made my way to the basement. The stairs creaked under my weight, each step amplifying my anxiety. As I reached the bottom, I noticed the basement window was broken, shards of glass scattered across the floor. My heart pounded. Someone had been inside. Panic set in. What if they were still here? I quickly scanned the room, but it seemed empty. Still, the idea of an intruder lurking somewhere in the house sent chills down my spine. I bolted back upstairs, locking the basement door behind me. I rushed to my room, locking that door as well. With trembling hands, I dialed 911. "What's your emergency?" the operator asked. "Someone broke into my house," I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm home alone, and I think they're still here. Stay calm. Officers are on their way. Can you find a safe place to hide?" "I'm in my room. The door is locked." "Good. Stay there and stay quiet. Help is coming." Minutes felt like hours. Every creak and groan of the house made me jump. I strained to hear any signs of movement outside my room. What if they found me? What if they tried to break in? Finally, I heard sirens in the distance, growing louder. Relief washed over me as red and blue lights flashed through my window. I stayed put until I heard a firm knock on the front door and the sound of police officers announcing their presence. I cautiously unlocked my bedroom door and made my way downstairs. The officers swept through the house, ensuring it was clear before they approached me. "You did the right thing calling us," one of the officers said, his voice reassuring. "We found signs of forced entry in the basement, but it looks like the intruder is gone." They secured the broken window and took my statement. The intruder was apprehended a few blocks away, trying to break into another house. The officers assured me I was safe, but the fear lingered. As I lay in bed that night, every sound seemed amplified. The thought of someone being in my home, prowling through my belongings while I was unaware, haunted me. What if I hadn't heard the noise? What if I had gone to bed without checking? That weekend changed me. It shattered the illusion of safety I had taken for granted. My parents came home to find a shaken, more cautious version of their son. The experience left me wary of being alone in the house, a constant reminder of how quickly things can go wrong. I'm Lily, a high school junior, and I thought I was prepared for a night alone. My parents were out at a late-night event, and I had the house to myself. It was just me and my cat, Muffin. I settled on the couch with a book, enjoying the quiet. Little did I know that peace wouldn't last long. Muffin, usually content to curl up beside me, started acting strangely. She stared intently at the back door, her ears perked and tail flicking. I glanced at the door, puzzled. "What is it, Muffin?" I asked, getting up to check. To my surprise, the door was slightly ajar. Had I forgotten to close it properly? I frowned, closing and locking it securely. Muffin meowed, almost as if warning me. "It's okay, girl. Just a draft," I reassured her, though I felt a twinge of unease. I returned to the living room, but Muffin's strange behavior continued. She prowled around, meowing and sniffing at the air. Then, suddenly, she was gone. I called for her, my voice growing more frantic with each unanswered call. "Muffin, where are you, girl?" Panic set in as I searched the house. I checked under beds, in closets, even behind furniture. Nothing. The yard was dark and empty. Muffin had vanished. My heart pounded as I noticed something else. The house felt off. A picture frame was askew, and a drawer in the hallway was slightly open. Had someone been here? My mind raced. Was it just me being paranoid? I tried to calm myself. Maybe Muffin was just hiding. But why would some things be out of place? I grabbed my phone and dialed my neighbor, Mrs. Anderson. She was always home and had a comforting presence. "Mrs. Anderson, it's Lily. Something's wrong. Muffin's missing, and I think someone might have been in the house." "Stay where you are, Lily. I'm coming over," she said, her voice steadying my nerves. She arrived within minutes, bringing a sense of relief. We checked the house together, but found no sign of an intruder. Mrs. Anderson insisted we call the police, just to be safe. The police arrived quickly, inspecting the house thoroughly. "It looks like someone might have broken in," one officer said, pointing to marks on the back door. "You did the right thing locking it when you did." My stomach churned. Had I interrupted a burglar? Where was Muffin? The officers spread out to search the area. I stayed with Mrs. Anderson, trying to stay calm. What if they took Muffin? I whispered, fear gripping me. "We'll find her, dear," Mrs. Anderson said, squeezing my hand. After what felt like hours, an officer returned, holding a small, trembling ball of fur. "We found her hiding under a bush a few houses down. She's scared, but unharmed." Tears of relief streamed down my face as I hugged Muffin tightly. "Thank you," I whispered, burying my face in her fur. The police assured us they would increase patrols in the neighborhood and urged us to upgrade our security. They believed the burglar had been scared off when I locked the door, leaving quickly and inadvertently allowing Muffin to escape. That night left me shaken, a stark reminder of how vulnerable we can be. My home, once a sanctuary, now felt exposed. The idea of someone lurking in the shadows, taking my beloved cat, was horrifying. My parents returned to find a more cautious, wary version of their daughter. The experience taught me to be more vigilant, to never take safety for granted. Muffin and I stick closer now, finding comfort in each other's presence. The memory of that night lingers, a constant reminder to always be prepared for the unexpected. I never thought I'd be someone who'd say, "It happened to me." But here I am, recounting the most disturbing summer of my life. My parents had left for their vacation in Europe, leaving me to guard the house. The first few days were blissful solitude. No responsibilities, no interruptions, just me, my books, and my video games. That was until one night when I heard footsteps upstairs. At first, I dismissed it. Who wouldn't? My house creaks and groans like any old place. But the sound wasn't random. It was deliberate. Footsteps. My heart pounded as I strained to listen. Was I imagining things? Is someone there? I called out, hoping for silence. But the footsteps persisted, growing louder. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by my bed and slowly crept up the stairs, each step feeling like an eternity. The hallway was dark, and the only light was the moon filtering through the window. I checked every room, my heart pounding in my chest. Nothing seemed out of place. Just as I started to relax, convincing myself it was all in my head, I heard it again. This time, the footsteps were unmistakably close. Panic surged through me. I bolted to my room and locked the door, my hands shaking. I could hear the footsteps outside my door now, slow and deliberate. "Who's there? What do you want?" I shouted, my voice cracking with fear. Silence followed. A terrifying, deafening silence. I fumbled for my phone and dialed 911, my fingers trembling. 911. What's your emergency? I think there's someone in my house. Please hurry. Stay on the line. Officers are on their way. Can you tell me where you are? I'm locked in my room. I can hear them outside. Stay calm. Help is on the way. Minutes felt like hours. The footsteps stopped, and I heard nothing but my own ragged breathing. Then the sound of sirens outside. Relief washed over me as I heard the police calling out, announcing their presence. I unlocked my door and rushed downstairs, nearly collapsing in front of the officers. "There's someone upstairs," I gasped. I heard them. The officers swept through the house, their radios crackling with updates. I waited, my mind racing with possibilities. Had I imagined it all? Was I losing my grip on reality? "Sir, could you come up here?" An officer called from the hallway. My legs felt like lead as I climbed the stairs. In the attic entrance, they had found something chilling. A small, makeshift bed, empty food wrappers, and clothing. Someone had been living there, right above me, without my knowledge. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Judging by the state of things, a few days at least," one officer replied, his face grim. "We'll do a thorough sweep of the neighborhood. For now, it's best if you stay somewhere else." The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Someone had been in my home, watching me, listening to me. Every creak, every groan of the house now felt like a threat. I packed a bag and left for a friend's place, my sanctuary now a place of fear. In the following days, the police found no trace of the intruder. The attic dweller had vanished, leaving behind only a chilling reminder of their presence. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, every noise amplified in my mind. Was it over? Would they come back? Even now, months later, I can't stay in the house alone. Every footstep, Every shadow feels like a threat. I sleep with the lights on and the baseball bat by my side. The unsettling truth is, you never really know what's lurking in the dark or who might be watching from above. It was a sweltering summer day when my parents left for Texas. I was 16, and they thought I was old enough to stay home alone. They left early in the morning, and I waved goodbye, excited for a week of freedom. The house felt eerily quiet after they drove away, but I shook off the unease and headed upstairs to my room. I spent the first few days lounging around, playing video games, and enjoying the solitude. But on the third night, something strange happened. I was in the middle of an intense game when I heard a noise downstairs. It was a soft, almost imperceptible thud. My heart skipped a beat. Was it just my imagination? I paused the game and strained to listen. Silence. I told myself it was probably just the house settling. But then I heard it again, a definite thud, followed by the creak of a floorboard. I felt a chill run down my spine. Was someone in the house? I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my hands trembling. 911. What's your emergency? The operator asked. I think someone's in my house, I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. Stay calm. Are you alone? Yes, my parents are out of town. Can you find a safe place to hide? I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Okay, I'm going to my closet. I crept into my closet, clutching my phone like a lifeline. The operator stayed on the line with me, asking me questions to keep me calm. Can you describe the noises? Thuds and footsteps, I whispered. I think they're in the living room. Stay quiet and keep the line open. Officers are on their way. Minutes felt like hours as I crouched in the darkness, listening to the sounds of someone moving around my house. I could hear drawers being opened and closed, things being moved. My mind raced with terrifying images. What if they found me? What if they had a weapon? Finally, I heard the distant wail of sirens. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. The noises downstairs stopped abruptly. Did they hear the sirens too? The operator's voice broke through my thoughts. The officers are outside. Stay where you are until they come to you. I waited, heart pounding, until I heard the front door burst open and heavy footsteps thundering through the house. Police, anyone here? I called out. I'm upstairs in the closet. A few moments later, a police officer opened the closet door. It's okay, you can come out now. I emerged shakily, trying to process what had just happened. The officer led me downstairs where another cop was waiting. They had checked the entire house. There's no one here, one of the officers said, frowning. But I heard them. I insisted. They were definitely in the house. We believe you, the officer said gently, but there's no sign of forced entry or anyone inside now. They stayed with me while I called my parents. I tried to explain everything through my tears, and they promised to come home as soon as possible. The police assured me they would patrol the area and keep an eye on the house. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak and rustle set my nerves on edge. I replayed the events in my mind, wondering if I had imagined it all. But the fear felt too real. Days passed, and my parents returned, but the sense of safety I once felt in our home was shattered. I never found out who had been in the house or what they wanted. The police continued to patrol the neighborhood, but they never found any trace of the intruder. Even now, I still hear those phantom footsteps in my nightmares, a haunting reminder that the intruder might return someday. And the question that lingers in my mind is, what if they do?